What's up, Big Bob? How you doing today? Today is Memorial Day, and first I want to thank Brenda Ringwood for being our executive producer. Where's the hand? Thank you, Brenda. She's also the founder of Becoming the Better You. Today's guest, and we have stayed away from politics, sex, and religion for all our episodes, but today we're going to do a little politics. Mr. Doug Bedford, who is running for county sheriff in Johnson County, Kansas. Thank you very much for making time to visit with us on this holiday.
Yes.
And thank you for your service. You did serve.
I did serve.
Tell me about your service.
I served 8 years active duty as a United States Navy.
Whose phone is that?
That's not my phone.
Turn that phone off. I'm sorry.
She's new here.
Yeah.
I served 8 years active duty as a United States Navy SEAL. I was
wow.
Yes. Yeah. It was.
Are the movies? Do the movies portray that kind of?
You know what? I think a lot of the movies do. So what you're going to see in the movies are things that I did. Now, things are definitely different now since 9/11. You know, everything changed for the SEAL teams. I was in from 1989 to 1997.
And so 8 years.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Where did you serve?
I went to boot camp, then A school or your MOS school, and I was an operations specialist. And then I went to Coronado, California, where I started basic underwater demolition SEAL training.
Yeah, that's the base.
So yeah, BUDS. And then I graduated in July of 1990. I stayed on the West Coast, and I was assigned to SEAL Team 3 out in Coronado, California.
Was there a G.I. Jane in your boot camp?
No, G.I. Jane wasn't there. If she would have been in my class, I would have remembered that.
I'm sure you would have. All right. Where did you serve? Overseas?
Yeah, I did 3 deployments overseas. My first deployment, it was during Desert Shield, Desert Storm.
By the way, I've always thought that was the best America ever did.
The whole planning that went into that conflict, it was amazing. It really was.
Set it up before you just fired the first bullet.
That's exactly right. At the time, you know, you sit here and think, wow, it's kind of unprecedented to draw a line in the sand, for lack of better terms. But you know what? It was very effective and it worked. And General Schwarzkopf did a heck of a job.
You know, if Napoleon, if King George, if any prior great war chief had ever executed like our presidents and our leadership did for that, it's almost impossible for a superior force to be overwhelmed.
Yes. I mean, you have to think it was just a few days into that conflict, they were surrendering 1,000 at a time. Then my second platoon, so that was Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and then I went to a number of countries over in that region, you know, Bahrain, Qatar, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait. At that point, it was after the conflict, and so then we were working with the military and the special forces groups in those areas.
So you had a desk job?
No, it wasn't quite a desk job. We were training them is what we were doing.
Okay. You come back to the United States.
Yes. My second platoon, then I flew Hawaii, Guam, ultimately Okinawa, Japan, and then climbed on a ship. That was called an ARC Bravo, an amphibious ready group. And so then we went from Okinawa, Japan into different areas, Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia, South Korea, Australia, places like that.
You know, one of my good buddies who also did this a while ago, Colonel Will, worked at the Pentagon and went to Annapolis and served.
Sure.
And I tell you, I think us civilians have no idea the commitment that those who do serve to protect our way of life don't give enough homage and respect and appreciation for what you've done for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it, sir. Yeah, it was the military. It takes a different breed of man and woman to do those duties. And what I mean by that is typically you're going to be going overseas or deploying for 6 months at a time. And so you're away from the household, and then your spouse or family is then back here stateside. And so it's a commitment on both parts.
All right. So how did you get to Kansas?
I grew up here. I grew up here in Johnson County. Small town out in western Kansas, a town called DeSoto. Uh,
That's a big time suburb now. Huh?
It is. It's just a metropolis.
Right.
It's just growing right before our eyes. Grew up there, kindergarten on through high school, graduated, played a little college football at some small schools here in Kansas, Ottawa University and Emporia State University. So
Offensive line?
No, I was a quarterback.
You look like an offensive lineman.
I do now. I do now. Things have changed a little bit.
Okay.
And so then I actually joined the sheriff's office in 1987. And
Before.
And so in 1989, for lack of better terms, it's like I was having a calling. I felt that if I didn't join the military, that I would regret it 5, 10, 15, 20 years later. And so my dad, he was a Korean War veteran. He was also in the Navy. He was a CB. And he never tried to push military on myself. I'm the youngest of 5. Never pushed military or anything on any of us, but I just felt like I needed to do it. And so I left the sheriff's office. I was a deputy sheriff for 2 years. I left in 1989, and then that's when I went to Navy boot camp. And
what was your rank when you came out?
I was an E6, first class petty officer.
Okay. Come back out of the service.
Yep, come back. It was I was honorably discharged in 1997.
Right.
And whenever I came back, then I went back to the sheriff's office again and was able to. I had to go through the entire hiring process again because I was gone
8 years.
Yes, sir. And so whenever I got hired on, then I came back to the sheriff's office. I worked in a number of different divisions while I was there. And then worked my way up. I was a lieutenant in a number, like I said, in the warrant division, the patrol division, the investigations division, and that's after being a deputy and a sergeant also. In 2016, there was an election for sheriff. The sheriff that was elected at that time asked if I wanted to be the undersheriff, which is the number 2 person at the agency. And so I chose to be the undersheriff, And so the sheriff's office, there's 700 employees at the Johnson County Sheriff's Office.
700
Yes.
employees, not county. We're talking just the sheriff.
Just the Johnson County Sheriff's Office. 500 sworn and 200 civilian employees. Yes.
That's big time.
It is. It's a big organization. Well, Johnson County's, it's really grown too. It's
Absolutely.
over 630,000 people in Johnson County.
All right.
So
you were undersheriff for a
Yes.
couple of years.
Yes, 4.5 years.
Right.
And in July of 21, I was able to retire. I had 32 years. I was able to buy back military.
Retire.
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 58 right now. I turned 59.
Man, you look like you're still in your 40s.
Well, I wish. My body doesn't feel like it's in its 40s.
I didn't want to hear that. All right. You retired.
Yes.
Why?
You know what? I was eligible to retire for one, but also I had a goal to run for sheriff at this time, 8 years later, or after undersheriff, after 2017. And I thought it was going to be the best thing for me to go ahead and separate myself. I'm still in law enforcement. I still work for state police for the state of Kansas.
Okay.
But I also knew all along that my goal was to be sheriff. And so
why? Here's the big question.
Oh, yeah.
Why? Why did you want to be sheriff?
I can do the job. I can do the job. And
isn't the job being done right now?
I don't think that it's being done to the satisfaction that it needs to be. I think the citizens deserve more.
This is a big conversation.
Sure.
I don't want to throw mud on the existing guy.
Sure.
And you can. I'm not going to. What is it that you would bring to the office that is not being done today that you think is important enough for you to come out of retirement and run for sheriff?
The biggest thing that I would bring would be the same mindset, the same mentality that I had as a Navy SEAL. And that would be the concept of teamwork. Law enforcement, if you really look at it.
Okay. What you just said is very profound.
Sure.
It really is. When you have 700 people, it's not about one person doing his job. It's about all 700 people doing their job.
Sure.
And somebody has to teach, hire them, train them, motivate them, supervise them, hold them accountable.
Yes.
And not do the job for them.
Correct. Correct.
It's empowering and delegating other people to do the job so the total synergistically works smoother.
Correct.
And you're saying you think you can do that a lot better than the guy there today.
Very confident that I can.
Why?
Because again, I grew up in the teamwork mindset and concept of everything that I've ever done. If you look at through high school, if you look at through college, always being in a team oriented area. The SEAL teams, they call it the teams for a reason. And that's what needs to happen. You need to have the men and women at the sheriff's office doing an amazing job. That being the case, I'm very confident that the job can be done better at the administrative level to try to work on those relationships. There's 19 cities in Johnson County, 17 of those have a police agency. And we need to work better at teamwork, that whole concept of being together.
Open, transparent communication.
It's desperately needed.
That's what's missing.
That's right. That's exactly right.
That's what you have to say.
Yes.
I mean, seriously, you have to say what's missing is transparency and communication.
Yes.
And that's what you bring to the table.
Yes.
I mean, I'm thinking that is your major part of your platform.
It is. Well, for instance, while I was there as the undersheriff, we created the Northeast Kansas Drug Task Force.
What does that do?
The working any drug cases that any of the city agencies that are in participation with, that they could say, hey, you know what, we're in town X, we're having a drug problem. Let's try to get to the root of the problem, arrest people, stop the drugs, whatever it needs to be. It's a great idea and well needed.
Right.
I mean, if you take a look, I-35, it's a major corridor. It's coming up from the southern border all the way to the northern border.
Corpus through Winnipeg.
Yes. And that being the case, of the 17 cities, 17 police agencies in Johnson County that have a police department, the invite was put out to say, hey, who wants to participate in the drug task force? Out of the 17 cities, do you have any idea how many of them are participating or playing in the drug task force?
Well, it sounds like a loaded question, so I'm going to guess less than 10.
One.
Why?
The mindset of teamwork. And that's what you have to have.
If you made those phone calls to the 17, how many would join?
I think that in talking to the chiefs of police, I think that through the communication, explaining what the drug task force is doing, what the concept of the drug task force is going to be, I think we could easily get up to 10. Some of them are going to be smaller agencies. They may not.
Why would somebody say no?
That's a very good question.
Is it ego? I mean, do they not want to solve the problem, or they don't think you can help? I mean, why would somebody say no?
I think it's just a personality conflicts.
Democrats, huh?
I didn't say that.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say it like that. But
no, I think that it's you have to make sure that whenever you are dealing with a major issue like that, and drugs are a major issue anywhere you go. And here in Johnson County, if we have the ability to clean that up, let's do it. And let's work together to make it happen. That being the case, you have to be able to make sure that whenever you're organizing a group of this magnitude, that you don't come in and try to say that you're swinging the big hammer and you're in overall control.
If you're saying teamwork, you sell it as teamwork.
That's right.
You're not saying do it because I say so. You're saying do it because here's the features, advantages, and benefits for you.
That's right.
If you'll participate, I don't need to be the leader. No. I just want to bring everybody together, and we'll talk about it together. How do we resolve this mutual problem that we're all having?
Yes, and nobody will argue that drugs are a problem in Johnson County. Are they as significant here as they are in other jurisdictions? Not necessarily, but you know what? If you're having a problem, solve the problem.
What's number 2 problem?
It's safety. I mean,
don't tell me not enough speeding tickets.
No. I can tell you that the sheriff's office, anytime I was at the sheriff's office, and to my knowledge, nothing has changed. They never have a quota. They never have anything like that at the Johnson
County
on. No.
Raise your hand if you think they have quotas.
No, with the sheriff's office, the only quota, so to speak, that I ever had a supervisor direct me to do was the number of contacts a day. they would typically say, hey, I want X number, I want 5, I want 10 contacts. Now, they don't care about the tickets. And the contact could be a motorist assist, stopping somebody with a flat tire, writing someone a ticket, whatever.
You're state now, right?
Yes. Yes.
I got a good state trooper story.
I'm ready.
All right. I'm driving 435 east,
Okay.
and the traffic's going 55 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour, and the speed limit's 70. So I weave in and out, and I'm going 75, 80 to get past all this crap. Well, there's a reason why the traffic's going so slow.
Oh, yeah.
The traffic is going so slow because there is a state trooper driving slow on 435. All right. He pulls me over. He said, do you know your back tire is showing steel? The rim. I go, no, the tire's only 6 weeks old. He says, you might want to take a look. And I go out there, and it is freaky.
Just shredded.
Shredded. Still running on rubber, but it is freaky. I pull over, change the tire, right? If he had not pulled me over and that tire blows out, me going 75 miles an hour, somebody's going to get hurt.
That's right. That's right.
So he didn't give me a ticket. He just said, you might want to, all right? So I wrote the sheriff's department and saying, the state trooper, and I said, so-and-so was a guardian angel sent down to protect me and the other people on the highway. Thank you very much. Here's a check for $100 for a charitable contribution. And they sent me the check back and said, thank you very much. We're putting the letter in his file, but we can't accept your check. Now, if I knew they weren't going to accept the check, I would have made it out for $1,000. But
the story would have been better.
Actually saved my life.
Wow. I'm assuming you got a hold of somebody with the tire company too.
Oh, yeah. That's what happened was when I bought the new tires, they didn't align them correctly, and something happened.
Wow.
Right. No lawsuit. Nobody got hurt. I just got free tires.
There you go.
But it's not all bad stories.
Yeah.
And most people who encounter law enforcement are saying thank you and are not saying, you son of a bitch, how come you gave me a speeding ticket?
Yes.
Most people are saying, you're protecting and serving our community. Even when you're giving us a speeding ticket,
yes,
you're protecting our community and ourselves from ourselves.
Yes.
And I think that part is missed on most people.
It is. I know that with the sheriff's office, whenever I started out on patrol, which was in 1998, one of the biggest things that the supervisors back at that time, and then also it was coming from the administration, Fred Allenbrand was the sheriff back then. You probably know Fred Allenbrand.
I knew one of his cousins.
Yes.
Right?
There's a lot of Allenbrands.
Yeah,
there's a lot of cousins.
Yeah.
But ultimately what came down towards the patrol division was education is a lot more than what a ticket. Now, if you have somebody that is 2 people speeding and 1 person you think that you can teach a lesson to and get them to change their ways, it's not always about writing paper. A lot of times you can just educate.
Let's get off the speeding tickets.
Love it.
What else will you do for our community that isn't being done yet? Or what will you do better than what's being done now?
Well, again, I think that if you have a proper level of communication with the city agencies, if you have a proper level of communication with the county and city governments taking place, even across the state, if you have a working relationship with everybody, I think that things are going to be a lot better. Because what happens is that's going to keep the cities and the community and the county safer, because you can pick up the phone and nobody has an ego to park at the door.
Doug, one of the things I'm most impressed with so far is how articulate you are.
Well, I appreciate that.
You are educated, articulate, thoughtful. You are genuine. You seem to be transparent.
Yes.
I think you make a ideal public servant.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I just hope you can do more.
The foundation or the strongest area that we're trying to, and I say we because everything with me is a team effort.
Good.
That we're running this campaign on the three fundamental values, I guess you could say, are teamwork, transparency, and trust.
What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with that. People need to be able to trust law enforcement. Just like you said, it's not always about handing out tickets or taking people to jail. There's a lot of law enforcement officers that are doing phenomenal things and getting the word out so that the community has a good trust in law enforcement again.
What do you do with bad apples?
Bad apples, you put them in jail.
No, I'm talking your bad apples.
You have to hold people accountable. And I think with any agency, and it wouldn't matter if you're in the law enforcement or if you're in the carpet business.
I get rid of them right away, but can you guys get rid of them right away?
Yes, there is that's a civil service process. So everything, the Johnson County Sheriff's Office, there's civil service protection for the staff if you're a sworn employee. That being the case, there's a professional standards unit within the agency. Some people would call it like an IA, internal affairs,
right.
But a PSU unit. And so if there is a bad apple, you can hold them accountable because it says, hey, if you've gotten a DUI, if you've done this, so there's almost levels of you'll say the word crimes, levels of crimes or incidents or something that somebody was involved in. And whenever you go through all of those, then you will hold people accountable.
A lot of people have made noise about defunding the police.
Yes.
Why is that a bad idea?
Oh, I think it's a terrible idea.
I do too.
Yeah.
But
I mean, again, law enforcement is there for a reason. Law enforcement is there to protect people. Now, does that mean that you're not going to have bad apples? Sure, you're going to have those in every profession.
How do you get rid of them?
Well, hold them.
Can you take them off the street and put them in office? Because they're a union guy. You can't just fire them.
There's not a union with the Johnson County Sheriff's Office or an FOP, a Fraternal Order of Police. They do not have that. And the reason why is they have civil service protection.
Okay.
So if somebody messes up and they step in it, so to speak, I won't use the word since we're live, right?
We're not allowed to.
Exactly. We'll get yelled at.
Right.
But if somebody messes up, and you could put them on administrative leave, depending on the severity of what they've done wrong. And then there would be a full investigation. And then throughout this investigation, so like, for instance, if someone, I'm trying to think if it was like a DUI or somebody has been unethical in their report writing or things like that, you can hold them accountable and it could say, hey, here's the parameters of what you could do. You could give them, depending on the incident or whatever they're involved in, it could be a written reprimand up to termination. And so then if they are terminated as being a bad apple, then what would end up happening is they could appeal it if they chose to the sheriff, appeal it to the civil service board, and then they would make sure that they followed, dotted the I's and crossed the T's in the process.
Right.
But otherwise, you can easily get rid of a bad apple.
So the Doug Bedford campaign, when did it start?
Over a year ago. The plan was for me to run during this election cycle, and that has not changed, and I've not wavered.
So who are you running against? When does the election take place?
Yeah, there's two candidates, right? And there's three candidates, but two in the Republican ticket. It's going to be August 6th is going to be the primary. And
when you go through the scroll and it says Doug Bedford, that's where you push the button?
Correct.
All right. Okay. Yeah. I just want to make sure everybody understands what we're trying to accomplish here.
Exactly.
All right.
Unless you're voting for my opponent, then the election's August 7th. So, no, I'm just kidding.
So, if you're voting for Doug, let me catch up on it because that went right over my head. If you're voting for Doug Bedford, you vote August 6th. If you don't want to vote for Doug, you want to vote for the other guy, you vote August 7th.
There you go. It's just that easy. It's just that easy.
Okay, we got that covered.
No, so the primary election is going to be August 6th. Myself and then the current sheriff, he has decided to run again.
Why?
I don't know. Whenever I was there as the undersheriff, he said he was going to do 2 terms, and then he's changed his mind now, I guess, to
Is he old?
He's older than me.
Is he fat?
No.
Is he easy? I mean, is he a cakewalk? I mean, what's your main concern with him?
You know what? I'm very confident in our campaign. I don't have any worries in that regard.
There's no mud to be thrown on them.
No. I mean, I left. It was time for me to retire. I knew that if I wanted to, without compromising who I am.
Okay. What are your core values?
Well, honesty.
Away from the job. What are your core values?
I have faith. I regularly go to church. I have my family that I love. Honesty, and you have to have honesty and integrity in everything you do. If you don't have those,
100% agree.
Yeah, I think that. Well, I can still remember growing up. My parents would always say, "Hey, you know what? Tell the truth. Tell the truth, because you know what? That's a lot easier to remember than a lie." And that's one of the biggest things.
You know why you tell the truth? Let me tell you why I tell the truth.
Yeah.
It's a reflection of who I am.
Yes.
I don't want to be a liar.
Yes.
I don't want someone to say he's lying.
Yes.
He's capable of lying. I want people to say he's not capable of lying. He always tells the truth. That's the man I want to be.
Yeah, I agree completely.
And that's the children, the men that I want my children to be.
Yes.
And they cannot be truthful unless I'm truthful. I can't tell them act this way, then act a different way.
And that's the example that you want to set in everything that you do.
Quick aside.
I'm ready.
Harrison Buckner.
Yeah.
What woman in America who is a mother, regardless of her career, won't say being a mother is the most important job she has? What father, regardless of how much money he makes, what position he has, what career he's carved out for himself, won't say being a father is the single most important job I've ever had?
That's exactly right.
What is wrong with what Buckner said?
The part that's so upsetting with that is how people just immediately started coming after him. One, he is giving a commencement speech at a private college, and it's a commencement speech at a Catholic school.
Preaching their values.
That's right. That being the case, what is amazing is how society, certain parts of society, just went after him. They would take a snippet and try to attack.
I want to talk to the man or the woman who takes exception with what he says and ask them, what job have they ever had that's more important than being a parent?
More important than their family.
I got to believe Clark Hunt is going to tell you the most important job he's ever had is not chairman of the Chiefs, but being a father.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you, Hillary Clinton, who was Secretary of State, Vice President, is going to say single most important job she ever had was being a mother.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it.
Yeah, it's disappointing. It was what I also
values. Old values are important today more than this wokeness that is absolutely nutso.
Yes, and so many people.
Sorry about that.
No, I think it's a great sidebar. So many people were going after him, and then if any of those people would ever take a second and look in a mirror, it would be like, goodness, like the NFL themselves. These aren't the values. He's speaking on his values. These aren't the values that we hold.
What values do they hold if not those values?
Oh my gosh! And then turn around and take a look at some of the people some of the players and some of their actions, and it's like, so are those the values you hold dear?
Right.
Or is it this one?
Right. Our society's a little out of whack. What I like a lot about the time we spent together is your values are very close to identifying with my values. Yeah. I'm not saying they're old school, but they're the values our parents and our grandparents might have had.
Yes.
That family comes first, community is important. Everybody has to serve a little bit, give more than they take. And you've spent your whole life giving back to our community.
Oh, yeah.
At every stage, at every position you've had, you've given more than you've taken.
Yes. I've served the public for more than 36 years in professions that I've done.
And look at all the money you've made.
I must have lost it. I don't know where it's at. I'm still looking.
Public servants don't make any money.
Oh my gosh. That being the case, though, I have zero regrets. Again, I left the sheriff's office at the age of 23 and having a great time at the sheriff's office. I mean, it was like, wow, this is crazy. But I knew that if I didn't do it, I would regret it. Like I said, years later, 8 years in the SEAL teams, the training there was unbelievable. But if I didn't do it, I would have regretted it.
Do you take contributions
We
for your
do.
campaign?
Yes.
If somebody wanted to write a check to your campaign, how would they do that?
The easiest way is to go to DougBedfordForSheriff.com, DougBedfordForSheriff.com. What you're going to see there is some information about me. You're going to see some information about the endorsements that I have, which I'm very proud of.
Give me some.
I have a number of, if I counted, probably more than 40 retired men and women from the Johnson County Sheriff's Office, a number of retired. And the reason I say retired is because if someone is currently working there, unfortunately, they can't endorse.
Right.
And I understand that.
Legally or?
Well, that's through civil service in that regard. But a lot of times, even
Why
current police agencies.
And why would you want to bite the hand
That's right.
that's signing your check?
Well, you don't want to endorse one and then all of a sudden somebody else wins.
Right. That's what I meant.
Exactly. The hand that feeds you.
Right.
A number of endorsements from outside law enforcement agencies, and then a number of endorsements from former military members. And there's letters of endorsements. But what I was going to say is that's listed on there. But there's also a section where if you want to donate, if you open up the donate tab on DougBedfordForSheriff.com, and then it will tell you where you can either mail a check or you could even do it online.
What is the minimum you'll accept?
Oh, I would take anything that I could possibly get. The maximum that people can donate is up to $500.
Right. How expensive is it to run a campaign?
It's not cheap. This is the first campaign that I was involved with. Even if you look at like the yard signs, those are $3 to $3.50 a piece. Then you start getting into bigger signs, 4-foot signs, 6-foot signs, things like that. It's the cost behind the scene.
We're missing an opportunity. If you want to put a yard sign in your yard to support Doug Bedford, if you want to put by the way, Big Bob is endorsing. If you wanted to put my pleasure. If you wanted to put a sign by your building, right? How do people get hold of you for signage?
You can, on that same page, there's a button where you could say, hey, if you want to participate, if you want to walk in parades, things like that. Or
parades.
Yeah.
Really?
Doing that, you have to throw some candy out for the kids and things like that.
Is there any food?
I could see what I could do. Maybe I can throw you a hot dog or a hamburger instead.
My Tuesdays are spoken for when the Royals are here because that's $1 hot dog day.
There you go.
How about
it used to be Friday too. They used to have
it's $1 hot dog Tuesdays for home games. How about them Royals?
They're doing. I love seeing it. Yeah. You know, the amazing part is that just a few of the names you're going to recognize from just a few short years ago. Salvi, he's definitely there. But you look and say, my gosh, this is a whole revamped team.
Yeah.
And
they're winning. They're winning.
They're winning.
And it's a lot of fun watching them.
That is. It really is.
Let's see. What would you like to tell people who have never heard of Doug Bedford before about why they should consider voting for you on August the 6th?
There you go. August.
Right? And for those who are not considering, August the 7th.
There you go.
Right. What would you like to tell them?
The biggest thing that I would tell anybody is that my whole mindset, my whole drive behind this is going to be teamwork. I'm not going to come in. I want a transparent organization where people know, I mean, this is your money that you're spending at the Johnson County Sheriff's Office.
What's your budget?
This year, whenever I was there whenever I retired in 2021, the budget was right around $83 million. Yeah. It's like your budget.
$83 million.
Yes.
You're not running a sheriff's department. You're running a small city.
Well,
a small country.
It is
$80 million.
It is increased from there.
Right.
In 2023, last year, the budget was set at $101 million, but ultimately the final tab at the end of the year was $118 million. And that's where the transparency comes into place. Again, one of the core values of my campaign is you need to be transparent with where the money's being spent, how it's being spent.
Is the current leadership transparent?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so. I mean, there's
You're not saying graft. You're not saying somebody got rich, but
correct.
You're saying I don't know where they spent their
Yes,
money.
that's the whole thing. I'm not saying that anybody is corrupt
Right.
and is stealing money by any means.
But you'd like to know where the money's
That's
being
right.
spent.
Yes, I think that the citizens
I
deserve.
think everybody should.
They deserve it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
And so those are the things that I want to do. I want to be transparent with the budget. I want to be transparent with criminal investigations to the point that you can be transparent. And what I mean by that is, for instance, if you come home today and your neighbor's door or your front door is kicked in, then by tomorrow I could go and it would be public record to get page 1 to say, hey, you know what crime took place? What's the case number? Now, even if they have a suspect in that case, then I wouldn't be able to get that information. Right. Just page 1 of, hey, what crimes have taken place? Those are the things that I think people should be made aware of and they should be more transparent with.
Is that done on a newsletter, on a website?
You can just go into the records division at the sheriff's office and you have public information that you can pick up.
What kind of relationship do you have with the courthouse?
Oh, I think a very good relationship. Again,
how important is that in you doing your job?
It's very important. I mean, because you have to find out, and granted, if a crime is committed, the job of law enforcement is to enforce those laws.
Right.
And so you arrest them, you take them to jail. It will then be up to the district attorney's office or the city prosecutor to find out if they're going to charge somebody or not. But that should not hamper us in doing our job.
Well, that's a great segue. What police TV show is most realistic?
Gosh. It's so funny because I don't know. Like I will watch.
I mean, they solve every case in an hour.
Oh, they do. They do.
Right.
And I'll watch Law and Order and things just because I enjoy the storylines that they're going with. But yeah, that's the whole thing is when you see the same people that are trying them in court or the same people out serving warrants and they do it all, and I know for the Johnson County Sheriff's Office, that's not the case, but it's still entertaining.
Is there any movie that's ever been done that is real life for you? You can, I mean, for an outsider, how would I ever know what the life of a sheriff could possibly be really like? Is there a show out there, a movie that you've seen that comes close to depicting what life of a sheriff could be like?
Gosh, I've never.
Walking Tall, maybe.
There you go, Buford Pusser.
Right.
Even what he did, and so many of even that movie, so much of what he did, it was chronicled, and they say, yeah, this actually happened. Right. But then I think you'd be hard pressed to find a sheriff that could do that in today's day and age.
Well, you look big enough to carry that big piece of wood.
He did have a big piece of lumber that he swung.
He did.
Yeah, that was good.
Parting remarks. Besides asking them to show up and vote on August 6th for Doug Bedford, what would you like to tell all 17 people watching?
You know what? I'm a lifetime public servant, and that's what I've done. And whether you're talking, growing up in Kansas, my time in the military as a former Navy SEAL, my time in law enforcement, which is more than 28 years law enforcement experience. I think I'm very confident the knowledge that I am bringing to this organization, back to this organization, and the team that I'm going to bring back to the organization is going to make us better.
What were they? Teamwork, transparency,
and
honesty, trust. Teamwork, transparency, trust.
Yes.
Words to live by.
Definitely.
Words to live by. Brother, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very, very much. Had a great time. Let me turn this off. Happy Memorial Day. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Right.